Now we're ready. Welcome, everyone. I'll call this meeting to order. It's the regular school board meeting of Glendale-River Hill School District Board of Education, April 16th, 2025. We'll start with our roll call. Katie Avalos. Here. Chris Robinson. Here. Karen Cronwell. Here. Danielle Bailey. Here. Carla Pennington Cross is here. Thank you for being here today. Welcome, audience and visitors. You may stand at this time to participate in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance, if you wish.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. All right, next on our agenda is agenda approval.
I move to approve the agenda.
I second. Any discussion?
Is this where you do, there's a motion?
We need to change one item on it, right? Oh, wait, this is just the agenda, sorry. Try me again. Danielle Bailey motioned, Karen Cronwell seconded.
It was the other way.
Oh, okay, Karen Cronwell moved to approve the agenda. Danielle seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Good job, Carla.
You got this.
Moving on to what I thought we were talking about, board meeting minutes for April 2nd, 2025.
I move to approve the board meeting minutes of April 2nd, 2025.
Second.
Any discussion? Yeah, I think it sounds like, hold on, let me find my notes. There was one missing second on the resolution. That's been resolved, right?
Yeah, the seconds are all in there
And
now.
then on item 6E, the motion on the associate principal was a 4-to-1 vote. So that's the only thing that needs to change. Does everyone remember it like I did?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not all voted in favor. It passed 4-to-1.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, wait, because you updated this, I'm looking at it again with fresh eyes. Can I just ask a question for clarity? So there was a motion to approve the salary adjustment and to approve the market salary adjustment for the counselor. My understanding was we passed a motion approving teacher salaries, which incorporated the counselor. So I think, again, we need to strike that, the language just about and to approve market salary adjustment in closed session.
Right,
If we strike that, then it's accurate.
correct. Oh, I
And the
didn't even see that
updated,
there.
and the updating voting. And
All right,
then,
so we're deleting the phrase "and to
Yeah.
approve market salary adjustment for counselor."
because
What
that
specifically are you looking at right
item E, 6E,
Third bullet.
now? Thank you.
yes. And then, I see that you updated item 6C. And this is such a small thing, but I don't think we would, I don't know what the right language is for that, but there was a motion to approve and there was a second. Then there was a motion to amend and then there was a second. And then the
What was
motion
the-
to amend was passed, which means that has to pass before the original motion. So it's just the timing piece. And I don't think we get dinged on that. I think maybe just in the future, we need to be just more like mindful of an amendment, right? Or
Right, the amendment
should
has
pass
first.
first. Yeah. Or just easier language, so it's not so confusing.
I don't even remember what the
We just need to stop making mistakes since we have to amend and then
Well,
it's super easy.
Or just
Summarize what we did.
Let the record reflect the sarcasm.
Anyway,
That's
just,
the AI
I
mic
mean,
bit.
I don't think it needs to be
Yeah.
changed, I
Yeah.
think it's fine. I just noticed that, that's all. Everything else is great, thank you for doing that update thing.
Okay, there is a motion to approve the minutes. Motion by Danielle Bailey, second by Karen Cronwell. All in favor?
As I.
As edited, yeah.
Aye.
Motion to approve the. Aye. Yes, all right. Whew. Well done. All right, moving on to 1F, meeting grounding, and Ms. Robinson very kindly agreed to lead our grounding today.
Right. Our work is naturally focused on students in general or large group of students. We make budget decisions, we do hirings, we advocate on behalf of groups of students. Today, I want to focus a little bit on an individual student, and this is not one of our students, this is not our district. This is from the book Overcoming Dyslexia by Sally Shavitz. For many affected children, dyslexia has extinguished the joy of childhood. They spoke of a girl, Caitlin, who was 7 years old, completing first grade, who couldn't seem to catch on to reading. She had memorized a few words that she could read by rote, but if shown a new word, could barely sound it out. And this was, she made lots of effort. Out of 24 words that a first grader should have mastered, she knew 4. She was frustrated, her family was frustrated, they felt like they weren't getting answers from the school, and in fact, the school was looking at what maybe emotional needs the child might have. Again, not our district. The breaking point came during Caitlin's 7th birthday party. Her mom worked hard to make it special. All through the party, Caitlin kept asking, when do I get to blow out my candles? Suddenly the room was darkened and Esther came out with a cake with 7 glittering candles sparkling brightly. Caitlin ran over to the table, climbed up on the chair, and bent over the cake. She closed her eyes tightly, concentrated very hard, then blew out all the candles. Then she ran up the stairs and closed her bedroom door. After some time had passed, her mom found her on her bed, her favorite storybook, Goodnight Moon, open on her lap, and tears streaming down her face. You said I would get any wish I wanted, and you were wrong. My wish didn't come true. Caitlin still could not read any of the words on the page. So in this season of testing, I want us to remember that individual students, we continue our advocacy as we grumble about Act 20, as we look at all the things we continue to do to improve. Just let's remember the individual students.
Thank you, Chris. Exactly what I needed to hear.
Cry before the meeting starts.
I think if I did, everyone would cry when it's done.
Yeah, we tried. I did.
I tried hard and I didn't.
All right. All right, moving on to agenda item 2A. At this time, would any individual among our visitors like to speak to the board about a non-agenda item? Anyone online? All right, moving on to item 3A, a spotlight around the Parkway Spring music performance.
All right, I'd like to take the opportunity to have Ms. Erin Sonic, our music teacher at Parkway Elementary School, present information about the spring concert that she directed this school year. And so I will turn the floor over to her and her amazing work.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Young, for inviting me, and thank you so much for having me today. I'm our first, second, and third graders put on our account on the concert. We sang songs all about math. We sang songs about counting and value and shapes, and we also counted and sang about kindness along the way. I'm trying, it's okay. There we go.
There we go.
Third graders are obviously our eldest grade at the school, have an opportunity to challenge themselves as performers. They had an opportunity to do an additional instrument part or acting part. And we had well over close to 50 actors and around 35 instrument players. So a large amount of students chose to challenge themselves as performers. Within our concert, we had 3 mini plays put together, 3 original plays put together. our first play that the first graders sang songs about, and our third graders act was called Better Than Nothing, which was based loosely off the book, Zero the Hero, if you're familiar with it. Then we did, the second grade did a play called That's Not a Triangle. And yes, that's not. And then finally, our third, well, it is, isn't it, right? And all the different ways of looking at things, right? And then our third graders did their play was called Count on You, and really focused on counting that kindness. As we prepare for the concert, we always start with why do we perform? Children and everyone comes to performance in different ways with different feelings. And we always start with, why do we do this? So with third grade, we take 2 minutes to brainstorm, just 2. And these are all the things they said in 2 minutes of why we perform.
These are the students'
These are the
responses?
students.
Oh,
So I set the timer for 2 minutes and I say, you're gonna work hard, I'm gonna work hard. Why are we doing this? And this is what they said. Then this year, they highlighted things that they felt were important for the second graders and the first graders to know. So as we performed, we kept reflecting back to this when things felt hard of why we're doing this.
I love that song.
After we did that, then we brainstormed on, okay, so we know why we're gonna perform. Then why is it important to do our best? Why is it important to do our best for this concert? But just generally, why do we work hard? Again, you can see many of the things they said, some of them related specifically to music, but just in life in general. Performance obviously is about music, but performance it just transcends that. So again, these are things that, then we highlighted things that, again, that they wanted the second graders and the first graders to know. So this is our point of where we start off when we're preparing for a concert. After that, we then, we've decided collectively that performing is important, that it's important to do your best. Then over the next several weeks as we prepare for our concert, we uncover how we look and sound our best for our concert. Underneath each of these, it's okay, I will tell you, underneath each of those numbers was a conscious concept about performance. Singer's posture, standing like a singer, blending our voices, as well as how to be sing on risers. We talk about how good singers are good actors, and so those are some of the conscious concepts that we work on along the way. Each grade level not only are working on those things, but the music that they're working on is specific to their learning targets. For example, first grade has a smaller pitch set that we're working on and rhythmic set that we're working on, whereas third grade, their range is expanded, their songs are longer, and we're starting to do some harmonies. I'd love to show you a little bit of our concert if you were able to come. I put together a little video slideshow. It's about 5 minutes, just kind of highlighting some of the things that we did with our concert. And you're hearing our third graders singing right now. These are our first graders. We're singing and counting popcorn. We performed our concert twice, trying to give options of our families, what they can come as well as accommodate. We had a smashing turkey. Here are our third graders that did the play, Zero the Hero, as per the first grade portion.
All dressed in their best number clothes, from their one special head to their 10 little toes. Well, I love wonderful. I'm feeling five spaceship. Well, I have potential. That's better than nothing. I heard that. Yeah, I'm bigger. That's me. Why is it when I'm 60? The numbers all thought they were better than zero. It turns out. That zero was everyone's hero. Each number is greater than zero by itself.
More for triangles. We're seeing some of our second graders. We have the second graders singing aloud about lullabies. This was one of their favorites. They really connected to the song and the words. Some of our graders. We had two pieces ready for instruments. One was a drum ensemble. We performed a piece called Sevens, where patterns were groups of sevens. So our third graders singing our signature song concert. Concert with our birthday school song. I'm sure you can feel their joy and their excitement as we enter the concert. Hopefully you can see their pride and emotion. Do you have any questions?
Let's start with Katie.
Do you still make the DVD for all of the family?
No, we don't, and we just want to make sure we're really being cognizant of copyright issues. So we do, one thing that we've tried, that we're doing as part of our Camp S'mores and our art show is that we have a viewing in an educational setting of our video. And it's actually, we did it last year too, where we had families come in and actually sit with their student and watch their segment. It was pretty special. It was and well attended. So we'll be doing that again this year. So no, don't. 500.
What is the copyright issue?
Just with the songs.
So you
Yeah.
can't make something and give it away, or you can't make something and sell it, or?
We want to just be careful of all those things, yeah.
Oh,
So having permissions to do that, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, okay, all right.
All done, Katie?
That was it.
But one thing I do tell the students is that they know these songs, and at any time, they can invite their families into the living room and give them a living room concert. So,
I mean, there's a lot.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I don't have any questions, just thank you for sharing this.
Yeah, it's
And
good.
thank you for everything you're doing
oh,
to,
thank you.
to bring out their joy.
I'm so glad to come to feedback.
Me too, yeah, it's been exciting.
Yeah,
You made me very nostalgic.
that's exactly what I felt watching it.
I loved it. I went to it twice.
I saw you
I
twice.
filmed a lot of it, and I'm smiling as hard as I was, I think, when I was there. So I love the joy. I love how it brings our community out. It's so amazing, and I'm sure it's so much work. And the kids love you so much, and
Aw,
it's
Well,
really
as you
special
know-
and sweet. It's really special
Yeah,
and sweet,
thank you.
and I just appreciate it. I wish we could do more of it, but I know how there's got to be a lot of. It seems like it's a lot of hard work to get them all in that.
Yeah, and
Performance ready.
there's lots of learning to do.
Yeah.
So with our time, I think we're using our time to the best of our ability with what we're.
Yeah, and you've incorporated the math and the shapes and like kind of that cross without them even knowing probably that that's what's happening, and that's really special too. So thank you.
Except for the most cynical of them.
That's very true.
I'm also very nostalgic, because, I'm literally, like, while I was watching that film, I was picturing, just like I'm sure you guys were, right? Our kids coming through this, and you've always brought so much love to the performances. I was very curious, I will ask an actual question. I loved seeing how you gather from the kids and give them ownership and voice in the reasons why you do the performances. It really touched me. I am curious how you gather. I'm just curious how you do that with third graders. Do you give them Post-its? Do you have places where they type in, or do you?
No, we do, with the time we have, so we have music twice a week for a half an hour. So with the time we have, we just do a straight brainstorm. So I'll set the timer for 2 minutes, and we just go up and down the rows, and then I type as fast as I can.
Okay, so
Yeah.
you intentionally give each child a
Yes,
chance to
yes,
speak and share their
yes,
views, and you
yes.
just.
Yep, and then
dictate.
I go back and
Love
then. So
I love it.
Yeah, so everyone has a voice in it.
Thank you for doing that.
I'm glad to.
I want to thank you so much, Ms. Charnick, and it's really powerful for me to watching the performance, see the drummers, see the singing, watch the joy music, and watch how that's going to continue to grow through our district with your collaboration with our music teachers here at Glen Hills. So thank you for setting such a strong foundation.
Thank you.
I appreciate
It's
it.
enjoyed. Yeah, thank you.
Any visitors wish to speak or online?
I was there and I thought it was tremendous.
Thank you, I'm so glad.
Thank you, Mrs. Charnick.
Will that be in Word docs for presentation?
It is actually already.
Oh, it is great. Okay, awesome.
All right. Moving on to item 4A, superintendent update.
All right, well, hopefully this captures your attention as much as a music concert for the most adorable children ever.
Can you keep playing that song?
Sorry in advance.
Well, I actually think, I'm hoping that the board believes that my superintendent update is one that can help you feel like you can count on me as well. Way to bring it around. So I want to just provide an update to the board on some of the progress I've been making. So when we met around my superintendent evaluation around my interim position, we talked about setting some goals to moving into this through the rest of the remainder of the school year. Considering that we had such a bumpy start with a lot of big transitions and big movements, there was some specific asks that the board put together. One of them was to create a board resource repository. So I'm working on a centralized and easily accessible repository of information for the board, and what that looks like is it has an alphabetized table of content with direct links to resources that would need to be found, so that you could do potentially like an alphabetical search or a Command F find in there so that you can find what you're looking for. The year-long board calendar has been laid out pending the approval of calendar dates at one of our May meetings. And so that's been arranged by our strategic plan, and most of the really key features of things that need to be approved by the board are being added into that. And I've been working with Jenica and Michelle and Kelly to make sure I'm capturing some of those key moments so that we're not getting anything off of that. And so that'll be planned out, hopefully helping the board see what's coming in upcoming meetings. And then also an archive, each week I give you an update from the superintendent. This would help archive that in one space so that it's very easy to access and just do a search based on date to find things. Okay, so I've also was charged with developing exit and stay surveys for families and staff. So I have been taking a look at other districts. I also sought some information from School Perceptions, which handles their staff surveys, to get some information from them, with the goal of that learning more about not only what causes people to leave our district, which I think was the charge that the board gave me, but I think it's also important for us to ask people why they choose to stay.
Yeah.
Because that is valuable information for us to think about how we build on our experiences for both staff and students. So just kind of looking ahead, the year has been really stabilizing in many ways for the district. And we didn't establish like formal board superintendent goals, right? But I'm looking forward to it and would like to have the opportunity for the board to do a workshop on June 30th from potentially 5 to 8 p.m. with the administrative team to take a look at some of our end of year data and really set some goals so that there is alignment from the board down through our schools around what we are seeking to accomplish and how we're seeking to grow in our district. So that's kind of my update. I appreciate all of your support and your continued questions that you have of me that make me better and stronger in my responses to you and allow me to think things through. So I appreciate the partnership that we share with one another in our work together. Any questions?
We'll start with Chris.
No, I don't have any questions. Thank you for not only meeting but exceeding expectations.
Yeah. Karen?
No, I'm good, thank you.
Also good, appreciate it.
Also good, and yes, thank you, thank you, thank you, always thank you, and it's on my calendar. I hope everyone's pulled out their phones and put the workshop on our calendars for June 30th. I think it's done, right? We can go ahead and schedule it.
Yeah, I would also like to make potentially a recommendation that we meet just as a board superintendent group, just to kind of reaffirm our goals and like our moral imperative, our mission
Yeah.
with each other before we meet with the administrators, if that's.
Oh, it's like a separate
Like,
meeting.
yeah, but that could be maybe a little bit shorter on the
Yeah.
26th. I'm just gonna throw it out there. If it doesn't work, we can tie it all together.
June 26th?
I was gonna say, this made me think that, I think, do you have it already planned in an upcoming meeting for us to revisit the board goals? I might have seen it in a draft, but if not,
I
maybe.
don't think so. I think
I think it's the meeting structure and officer roles will be coming up.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay. Well, because I mean, we set goals too, that we should check in on before we do formal goals. Would that be a good time to do that as?
Yeah,
in
as a
this
workshop. And I think it'd be
board?
good to have a workshop so we just have some dialogue around, just sort of, kind of laying some of those pieces out and thinking about all the systems and structures as we've kind of delineated and defined them this year and all of those things that we are responsible for.
so we can figure that out, and then Anna is proposing June 26th. A quasi workshop like
Again, or
Six. Like we can do
6
a long
o'clock?
time on that one.
That's a Thursday?
Yeah,
It's
sort of
Wednesday.
a
Is it a
pre-meeting.
Wednesday?
No, it's a
The
Thursday.
25th is the Wednesday.
You want-
Oh, the 25th would work as well, if you want.
It's the
Wednesdays.
chess, oh, that's the morning.
That's our group, yeah.
Okay,
I
so
can do the 25th.
25th, meet with board and Anna. Like a pre-meet, right?
Yeah, just to get ourselves in
Set
alignment
values.
before we delve into like
Data,
data work with.
Yeah.
So like a
Yeah.
grounding meeting. I love it.
And then the 30th is a Monday, and that's what the day you're proposing for,
Yes,
okay.
Okay.
And those will get on the district calendar, right?
yes, once we set the board calendar, like I can get these dates on, but we have to set the board calendar before I can have the
That's,
meeting.
that is how I assume I'm right, I just upload that calendar, so that would be
Okay,
excellent.
That's awesome.
Yes,
All right,
I didn't hear objections, right, to the 25th and the 30th?
Nope.
Okay.
Oh, right,
Solid.
when we made our meeting schedule, we didn't schedule June meetings.
No.
Right. Got it. Okay, thank you so much, Anna.
no problem, thank you.
All right. Where are we? I'm not gonna say it.
Don't. But now you kind of.
Moving on to item 5A. Revenues, expenditures, payroll for March 2025.
Yeah, you have in front of you the March 2025 financial report, and this is to keep the board updated and the community on where our financials are at this point in time. The revenues and expenses by fund, there is a report attached to that is coming from Skyward, and it shows more detail than the summary here. I do want you to note.
It never works. I don't know why.
Yeah, wants to start. Yeah, if anyone else is clicking on that, I want to let you know that the revenues currently in the general fund, 17,421,575.89. That's as of March 31st. Expenditures, 11,186,551.13. Special projects fund, when you look at this on the report that's attached, the percentages of expenditures and revenues to the budget are not accurate. They're pulling another number. And what they should be is the revenues in Fund 21, 136% spent or received to the budget, and then expenditures 116%. You'll see like 25,000, 23,000. That is pulling a wrong number out of Skyward. Fund 27, we're looking at $2,892,782.42 as a revenue, and then expenditures of $2,909,113.11. The major source to date is a transfer from Fund 10. Fund 38, non-referendum debt, revenues of $426,047.60 and expenditures of $425,329.59. The capital expansion fund currently has revenues of $7,059.17, no expenditures. We can't make expenditures in there yet.
And that's for investments, right?
Yes, those are all investments. And then the food service fund, currently revenues $253,125.91, and then expenditures of $285,925.36. And then our community service fund, currently revenues of $238,345 and expenditures of $217,911.01. And again, that report is attached for further detail. Accounts payable disbursements. I've added another column at the very far. It's a total. So if you see multiple invoices together on the same check, you'll see those line items, you'll see the check number with the same check, and then you'll see over in the very far right, the total of that.
Okay.
So that's the total of the check. You're welcome. And then there also are a few other things in this report, nothing unusual, but near the end, there's more things being recorded as wire payments in here, or ACH payments. We're sending out some payments via ACH as opposed to through a check. So when you see large check numbers like on page 13, the second check number 202400661, yeah, that's being recorded. That was a wire being recorded as a wire ACH payment. And then there's other ones in there too. The credit cards have been being paid that way as well. And then near the very end, on page 19, you'll see there's a couple of payments. These were ACH, and I should have said before too, if you look at the check type, you'll see an A. Those are ACH payments. And the Ws are wires, which are oftentimes ACH, but recorded in your system as a wire. Because we don't send out wires through Skyward. The totals for checks sent out, $1,152,343.93. And then on the summary of pay, benefits, and disbursements through March, this month, the total was payments and benefits and checks, all those types of things, $2,035,098.71. And one of the differences in that this month, I mean, in the month of March compared to the month of February would have been bond payments, debt service payments. Otherwise, payroll is very consistent and benefits very consistent. Okay. And then as far as our bank balances, we ended March with a balance in our checking of $511,500.91. US Bank payroll checking account had $5,852.25, and normally that balance is very low. We transfer funds for each payroll. After Tracy runs payroll, she lets us know and we make a transfer for that amount. Petty cash, $258, and then our WISC investment account, accounts, $6,315,637.75. A transfer does need to be made in the month of April from the WISC Fund 38 to the Fund 38 in the general checking to close that out. For the funds, we had wired the debt payments through the general account, so we'll pull those from the WISC. Any questions? Let's start with Lauren.
So I do not have questions about this, and this is a little unfair because I didn't even ask you about this on Monday, but I think, was it last month, there had been kind of this odd pattern of like double payments or things that had been, there like 2 checks had been issued and looked like has that been resolved?
Yes.
Okay, was there
There were several checks that were issued, but we had to void them and reissue them because they had an incorrect signature on it.
Oh, that's right.
The electronic
Thank
signature.
you.
Yes.
Yeah, okay,
Yes.
all right, and I just wanted to add, you had part of something that changed this in this report was because you had gotten a much late payment from it was like rents that were due from last year,
Oh,
right?
yes, on Fund 80. Yes,
Yeah.
Fund 80. You might notice the revenues are quite a bit higher than the expenditures. There had been a check from Belleville School, and some of that was for last year. So we had gotten a sizable check for rents. Yes.
Danielle?
I just, when I look at the revenue and expenditures by fund, so the last column is the fiscal year to date as percentage of budget. Like just the question I keep having when I look at that is, if I'm looking at this, like, am I able to divine like if these are good percentages? Is this where you anticipate we should be at this point in the year in terms of these percentages, or?
They are, yeah,
Okay.
they are, and then some of them, we need the accounts that were budgeted up. I will be bringing to the board that we need to make some changes in May.
Okay, right, okay,
Yeah.
so I think it just goes back to my just wondering around like having some insight into the forecasting when we get
Yes.
these numbers, like just like, okay, this is where we are right now, and like thumbs up, but maybe, you know, like, or whatever,
Still
just
solvent.
some kind,
Yeah.
well, and I know
Yeah.
you're doing that sort of, or, I'm thinking like visually or something documented, I don't know, I'm just still putting that out there to see how that might I don't, and maybe that's not a fair ask, I'm not even sure,
I think the way to think about it is think about what part of the year we're in, right?
Oh, that's what I'm wondering,
Yeah, our
right.
fiscal year starts in July, so
Okay.
if you have 100% of funds spent in March, you have a problem, right? Like, I mean, I think you could look at it like percentage wise, like where we're sitting in terms of the closeout of the year would give you, am I correct in saying that, Michelle? Yeah. Yeah, like, so sort of timing that out and thinking about, you know, what needs to happen, and it may be that, you know, like to Michelle's point is, as we get closer to the end of the fiscal year, that's when she would come and say, like, we're under here and we're over here, so we need to
Make some
adjustments,
adjustments.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
what's hard for me is like some of these are like 200% or 100, you know, and I like, so.
Yeah,
If it's just like a sit down with you and you kind of
yeah,
helping me wrap my
definitely.
head around this.
And two
Very
things,
good.
one, to that, you can look, if you look at the revised budget in that line item, object 900, 23,464 was budgeted there, yet we've had activity expenditures of $51,213. So we are over budget in that would be one of those things
Okay.
that most likely will, you know, be requested to make a change.
Okay.
I think next year will be helpful too, because as you see this, and I'll put it,
to compare.
you're gonna see where were we
Yes, maybe that's.
in 24, 25, yeah, in March, and you say, okay, wow. You know what I mean, because
Yeah.
normally our teachers, you know, we have payrolls, most people are paid in 24
Right.
pays throughout the year.
Yeah.
So then you'd see some insurances are paid at a certain time of the year, so then you would kind of see that.
Okay.
And that's what you're missing now, and I could put something together to
No.
a table like what normally, you
No,
know.
and I don't wanna add anything,
I
I
do
think.
think though, to speak to maybe what your concern is
Mhm.
like if it's showing that we're over budget, maybe
Yeah.
just a little blurb, but like, this is what happened, right? So like.
Or I can
replace
ask,
the
if I notice
yeah.
it, I'll ask, I was just looking for what you gave, which is a way to kind of process this percentage of budget, right? And I absolutely, once there's more context, I myself will be able to be like, oh, you know.
Yeah, and then you'd be
Yeah.
asking, well, why
Yeah.
last year at this time, did
Right.
we spent this
Right.
percentage, yet this year, you know, either we're lower or higher, you know, that would be helpful to see that. I was gonna say too, you know, the big items in our budget are salaries and benefits.
Right.
So if you consider, you know, as was said, you know, 24
Yeah.
pays for a lot of, you know, the majority of that is going out in 24 pays, so where are we at this time of the year?
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, no, I appreciate that, thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I wanna thank you for answering my questions offline. I actually went through all this. I made an Excel
Actually?
spreadsheet. I mean, I went in detail. I created an
Yeah,
Excel
yeah.
spreadsheet because I was like, how many of my questions can I figure out myself?
Yeah.
Based on the information Michelle has provided. And a vast majority of my questions, I was able to calculate using the information you provided and have like my own aha moment. So I feel like that's incredible success, you know what I mean? That, because it's a lot of complex information. And so I just wanna thank you for that. Just the fact that I could figure it out is a marvel, not of my brain, but of the information you provided. So thank you, and thank you for being responsive. Pure curiosity, on the one report where you said the numbers that were pulled were wrong.
Yeah,
I'm curious why that happens. Is it just a programming glitch or?
I had selected the wrong items there,
Okay.
so it was supposed to divide. It's supposed to divide the activity divided by the budget,
I see.
and it didn't, as you see.
Gotcha.
Looks like it doubled something too, so, yeah.
So a glitch in the matrix. All right,
Yeah.
that's all I got. Thank you.
You're
Katie? Chris?
I just have one question, and it's not so much about the specific numbers. I'm just wondering about food service and sort of what the goal is. Is it to break even? Is it, you know, an acknowledgement that we're always gonna have to spend more than it really costs, than we're able to bring in? Or are we trying to do a little bit better with it? So what's the goal of that? I'm wondering. Maybe that's not a fair question, I'm sorry.
Ideally, it
Yeah.
would break even or there would be a small profit
Okay.
to carry over the future years for equipment needs or repairs.
Okay, and do you feel, and this is sort of going into the one of the next ones, do you feel like the proposed changes will do that?
No.
No, okay, all right, we can talk about that more in that agenda
Okay.
item, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, any visitors wish to speak or ask any questions? I'm looking at you, Mr. Martin. We've missed you.
Wayne Martin, 7275 North Fort Washington Road, apartment number 1221, Glendale, Wisconsin, 53217. The long check number that you referenced to the repayment of bonds, was that a regular repayment or was that paying down additional?
It was a regular repayment.
And then it is a few pages prior on page 9, there's a negative $15 line item for donation gift from I'm sorry for butchering the name, Cortez family. Merry Christmas, that I think probably would have come from December if it,
Yeah, I'm
Referencing
trying to
Merry
see
Christmas.
which page, do you have a page number?
page 9, part of the check number 81944. My question on that one is more related to timely use of donations or recording of funds. Was that recorded
Well,
earlier?
It wouldn't show up on here if it was a revenue from a family's check, so I'm not sure why that is.
I will go back and check the.
Yeah, I will check on that. Yeah, I will check on that. You're welcome.
Yeah, it's a negative 15, page 9.
It's from the White House of Music.
It's a negative number, so what does that mean?
Well, it's a negative, meaning it was either a credit, and maybe that's what it is, maybe it's a credit from, did somebody give a donation, to White House of Music, we have a donation, please apply it as a credit, you know what I mean, or a gift certificate, something like that. I'll find out.
Interesting. Okay, anything else? Anyone else? All right, at this time, it would be appropriate if someone wishes to make a motion.
I move to approve revenues, expenditures, and payroll for March 2025.
I second.
Any further discussion? The motion is to approve revenues, expenditures, and payroll for March 2025. Motion by Karen Cronwell, second by Danielle Bailey, all in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Passes. All right, I don't know what AI will pick up, right? Yeah, that's what I'm sitting here thinking, like, I have to talk, I'm talking to AI. All right, item 5B, 25-26 budget planning update.
So we are continuing to plan for the 25-26 budget, budget work taking place now. Few things, but not everything, salary planning, benefits, 25-26 insurance. Things to keep that cost down. That was supposed to be on the agenda to be approved, and we're still waiting for those things. So that's going to be something that's going to come to the board in May. In building department budgets, updates to the budget calendar that is attached, approval of the 25-26 insurance benefits, as I said, waiting for renewal quotes, and that's going to May. Added on-site membership audit to April 2025, and then added the membership audit due to the GPI on May 1st. So if you look at that calendar, there's a few things there that were not there before, and then some movement. And the on-site membership audit took place on April 9th and 10th. The auditors were out for 2 days looking at our counts and our reconciliations of those counts. And a report will come to the board in May on that.
Dana?
Just a quick note, so in the new budget calendar, in October, there is nothing mentioning like publishing notice for that October budget hearing. I don't know if, I think maybe that should
It should
be
be
on
there.
there. That's all, that's
Yeah,
all I know.
yeah,
Otherwise,
thank
thank
you.
you.
Yeah, you're welcome, thank you. And this is not fully,
I know, it's a work in progress. I got you,
Yeah.
Because next year, then I'll just add, next year, I would love to see, and I'll just keep saying it so I don't, so it doesn't fall off. A budget model workshop for the board,
yeah.
somewhere around the same time as you do it for admin. So we can learn more about forecasting and figure out how big it is their stuff. That's it then, thanks.
Quick question I should have asked, on the last agenda item. We're gonna be asked to amend the adopt an amendment to the 24-25 budget, right? Would that typically happen in June, like as the year rounds out, or will we be doing it in May?
We can do it in May or June, I'm anticipating May.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
it's on the agenda.
It's on the budget
And-
calendar too.
Membership audit means counts of students, right?
Yes.
Just make sure I've got that. Okay, that's all I've got. Katie? Chris? No. Lauren?
No, she answered all my questions.
I know. Thank
Oh,
you
yeah, you
so much, Michelle.
Thank you.
I'm overwhelmed by competency around me. I love it. Okay. I was going to propose a break at this time, but do you want to take a quick break now, or do you want to wait until after we deal with student fees and meal prices?
I'd say
Okay,
no, that's considered.
If there's no objection then, I am suggesting a 5-minute break. Thank you. All right, we'll come back in 5 minutes. And that's it. So. Here we go, a quiet one. Moving on to item 5C, recommended approval of student fees and meal prices.
All right, so a part of our work every year is having annual approval of the fees. And this year, we're recommending the following fees be added. They were discussed during the April 2nd, 2025 school board meeting. We're bringing them back today for board motion and potential approval. K4 student fees would be $75 total, with a $60 instructional material fee and a $15 technology fee. K5 through 8th grade would be at $125 total with $100 for instructional materials, $25 for technology fee, and that technology fee covers the cost of insurance on our Chromebooks for students. So anything above and beyond what the insurance covers in terms of repair, so like intentional damage or, that would be covered by additional funding to the families. Family maximum would be $600 for the annual school registration fees. So if you're a large family, that you would not exceed that amount. And then our recommended optional fees for this year would be a $100 instrumental fee, which is consistent with what we have done in the past. And a $25 YAC registration fee, which is also consistent with past practice. $25 for athletic and participation fee for sports. $40 for forensic participation fee. Michelle Young, in her work around running forensics, has had students like pay per meet. This would be a way to collect that up front, and it would cover the cost of the number of meets that are expected for students. And then a $25 theater club participation. This year we started a theater club here, which requires us to purchase copyright on manuscripts, which is pricey, and our PTO helped support that this year, but going forward, we would want to make sure that we have that, and then, because we might also need additional funding at some point in time for props and things like that. And then the recommended fee change this year would be that field trips would be assessed as students are offered field trip opportunities. I did have some good discussion too with the administrative team about having teachers really kind of work to plan that out in advance of the school year so parents can know what to anticipate throughout the school year, so it doesn't come as a surprise to families. And then the meal price recommendation would be a 10-cent increase for full price meals.
And there is a costing in administrative content?
Right.
So Michelle and I actually spoke about this on Monday. I had asked her to do the analysis with an additional 5-cent increase. Because with a 10-cent increase, we're still losing over $7,500 next year. The 15-cent analysis, thank you for doing that, is a much better outcome, and yet we're still at a loss. So I guess
It saves us about $6,000, right? That's
yeah,
the
but
difference.
and I think if we're looking longitudinally at trying to design for breaking even or having a small profit, then that would be, that would be something we need to consciously keep in mind. Was there more feedback around the a la carte items? I know there was a question. We had that question around how do we not seem to be coming out better?
Right, I had a conversation with the food service director from Aramark, and they mark up some items and then they sell those, but they're making, like maybe they're marking up a cookie 50 cents and then they're marking something else up maybe a little less, or maybe even losing a little on that. So he says it all kind of works out, but what the revenues that the students are paying is the expense that Aramark is charging us. So there's no profit there for the district.
Right, for us.
Mm-hmm,
And
yeah,
the whole packaging it as a meal,
that is something they do with the DPI, and he showed me today, like the program that they use. So they take the dollar amounts of what is sold, what they sold it for, and then they turn it into meal equivalents for that price of the meal.
So on the bill from Aramark, the a la carte comes across as meal equivalents, which means they're like basically putting things together, like a Happy Meal kind of thing, to make the equivalent of a meal charge. So you're not getting billed per a la carte item, you're getting billed per a group of items that would be equivalent to a meal. And that's what we were trying to clarify with Aramark. It sounds like it's a deep dive.
Yeah. And probably even the US Department of Agriculture, because they have to follow those guidelines. So, you know, depending on what we're charged per meal from our food vendor, you know, whether we have a profit or not. So apparently they're
Since
using
we're
that.
on, since we're talking by default about food, let's start with that one first. How's that? Because I think we should do this as two separate motions. So let's start with the meal price recommendations. Administration is recommending a 10-cent increase for the full price meals, right? Right, so the increase in fees would be for the adult lunch, this adult lunch, adult breakfast, student lunch, student breakfast, right? For people who pay full price, not for the reduced. Is there a motion? Let's start with that. Let's get a motion and a second.
So I move to approve the meal price recommendation at a 10% increase for full price meals.
10-cent,
10-cent, what did I say?
you said percent.
Thank you.
So motion to approve meal price increases of 10 cents. Second. All right, discussion. I guess I think it's my turn to start, so I'll just go ahead. I asked the same questions offline about whether we should be trying to break even. I worry about jolting families too much if we go up by 15 cents, because I saw that in the spreadsheet. I was like, oh, is this under consideration? Given that the 5-cent increase would bring in like what, 5,000 or 6,000 extra bucks. My heart said, let's stick with the 10 cents. Don't over jolt and move in the right direction. So that's kind of where my head is, 10 cents, which is like 3% makes sense to me. So yeah, that's what I'm thinking about. I don't know if that's where your head is or what you're thinking about. 15 cents versus 10 cents.
I was actually gonna propose that we analyze, I don't know that I wouldn't recommend a 20-cent increase, but I do think we need to be looking longitudinally at how do we improve our model,
Yep.
right? Because we can't have a loss model, that doesn't help us.
I know.
So I guess I am not paying for hot lunch these days, and I lived through the shock of paying for Nicolay hot lunch, which
Is that
is
expensive?
a far cry from what is being built here. So I don't find 15 cents profound,
Yeah.
but I don't want to be cavalier about other people's budgets, right?
What's 5 extra cents for, if you're taking 2 meals, it's 10 cents a day, it's 50 cents a week.
It's a couple dollars,
It's a
right?
couple dollars a month, and yeah. Katie?
I mean, like, yeah, I'm kind of torn because, but if like longitudinally, if we do 10 cents this year, then we can do 10 cents next year, and then we've done 20, and presumably our costs will go up, that's what happens. But, at the end of the day, like 15 cents more doesn't seem like that much to me either. Like, I do pay for hot lunch. I honestly don't, like, it's still cheaper than I can feed my kids a meal at home.
Yeah.
So, like, to me, like, it's nominal, like, 15 cents makes sense to me too. But so does 10 cents this year, 10 cents next year.
Like, just, sorry, I don't know if this is like a point of order, but the motion is 10 cents.
Yeah.
Is anybody here, is anybody here a proponent of 15 cents such that we should be like discussing it And like, do you know what I mean, like?
Well, we're discussing it now to
If
see
we
if ten
are-
cents makes sense, and I think
Okay,
after we
okay.
get around this table, we can
Okay.
see if someone wants to make a motion to amend, or if we're just gonna act on this motion, right?
Yeah, I just didn't want, okay.
Chris?
I'm sorry, I didn't see the stuff that was in executive content until you called our attention to it, and my math is different, and that might be my math skills. But if we have $3.35, the cost with a 3.1, I don't think it wouldn't be $4.62.
No, that's the cost,
What am I
That's the
looking
actual,
at?
so this is what we charge. This
That's
is the
what
actual,
we-
this is the cost, which is increased by 3.1%.
Got it, thank you, sorry.
Yeah, and I did not, I hid several columns because it was just too busy.
Yeah.
There's reimbursements from, and I should have showed the
She's got a
total,
spreadsheet
so.
That's okay.
Thank you, I'm sorry.
Yeah, there's reimbursements, federal and state,
Right,
and for the paid lunch for the students, that paid lunch with the reimbursements does not come up to what we're paying, $4.62. That will be the cost of the meal with the error mark increase that they're allowed to charge.
So-
They're allowed, it's going to go up 3.1%.
Got it,
Mm-hmm.
but that, part of that is offset by government funds, is that what I'm hearing?
No, they're gonna charge us $4.62.
Okay,
We're gonna receive $3.35 from the meal, and then we're gonna receive, and I don't have it open in front of me, but I can. Yeah, okay. We're gonna receive on that full price meal, so we're gonna receive $3.35 from the family, 42 cents from the federal reimbursement, state reimbursement 5 cents, and then the commodities, the federal commodities that we're able to use in that meal is gonna offset it by 30 cents. So the total revenues for that meal is gonna be $4.12. And Aramark currently charges us $4.48, and they're gonna have a 3.1% increase, and that's gonna be $4.62. So we'll have $4.12 received to pay for a meal that costs $4.62.
thank you, thanks for
You're
clarifying
welcome.
that,
What-
that's
what is a
crystal clear
commodity?
now.
You said
Except for that part.
commodities. What's that
Yeah,
mean? Just some-
chicken, applesauce, all those things, federal commodities.
Yeah, school lunch revenue matrix is complex for you. Gosh. I'm sorry.
No, I just, fascinating that we're getting 5 cents a meal
From the state, yes.
Okay, just fascinating, okay.
It's just so they can say they did.
Well, and then there's the open question whether we will continue to get federal money. And if we don't, whether the state will increase what we get. Anything else, Chris?
No, thanks, I'm sorry.
Fine.
I do feel like, the 15-cent model would, I think it would be, not inappropriate, but I guess would be my thing, and, we've had some unexpected expenses this year, and that revenue could have helped offset those expenses. We have fixed our model, and that we're not like selling at a loss to other people, which is great.
Right, with the other schools.
And
Yeah.
and I can appreciate that, in the scope of our budget, several $1,000s isn't a make or break, and yet
Yeah.
it's something that is also relatively easily solvable, where some of our other expenditures are not.
Yeah, we'd be looking at 335 versus 340 for a lunch. 210 versus 215 for a lunch, for breakfast,
Wait, the 335 is with the current 10%?
with a 10-cent increase.
So I did it too. 10-cent increase, so 15 would go 340. Okay, okay.
Could I ask another question?
Yeah.
do we have a number of, do we have a lot of kids who can't pay their meals as it is now? Like our unpaid lunch thing?
Who are not
Yes.
on reduced meal prices and
Yes.
are struggling to
Yes.
pay their
Yes.
bills.
Yeah, we ran a report the other day and we're about $12,000 of unpaid lunch balances right now. At this point.
Well, that,
So I think that's an important, thank you for asking that question. I think it's an important consideration for the board.
well, we
to
talked
make.
about it last time too, in terms of like where, like, it's gotten better,
Right,
right?
it has gotten
Because
better.
Kayla is doing a great job of
Yep.
sending me those reminder emails.
And we're also following up with those families too, to have them universally up, try to fill out applications if they
Mhm.
qualify to, because that does support.
Sure.
It, like when families fill that out, if they qualify, it helps offset some of those costs
Mhm.
and it reduces the burden on the family.
But I thought that every family does it at registration, so why would they have to do it again?
Because circumstances change.
Oh, like if
they're
they're, okay, I
Right.
see, I see,
Yeah.
okay.
Do you
Gotcha.
find that there's a lot of stigma around it still when you reach out, or? I worry about that, like whether some people avoid accessing free and reduced lunch because of stigma around income insecurity. Yeah.
Anything.
Hard to know, because they probably won't talk about it if there wasn't.
Yeah.
Right.
You're right.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else, Danielle?
Oh wait, are they, do you guys know that? Yeah, so, well, to your point, what I wanna look into is there are some schools who have, adapted that form in like the reduced and free lunch, who have like, and then sort of worked on destigmatizing it and presenting it in a way where I think it might feel less like stigmatized. So I'm gonna look into that and see if I can reach back out to those schools that I heard talking about that. And on a high level, again, I just wanna remind everybody that we put out a request for a food vendor and we got one application. And so when I hear all of this, I feel like I feel remiss not to keep bringing that up, that I have an inclination to examine that contract, and when we have I know we're in a cohort, but looking at what are the ways we can improve the situation for ourselves, right? And what that might mean, and whether that's working with our partner districts or not, we should have gotten more than one bid, and that's just, we should have. And then looking into things again, like are you, like the community eligibility provision, that's one way for schools to provide free and reduced. I don't know if we qualify or wouldn't qualify, is that something you've looked into?
Michelle is actively looking into that right
Oh,
now.
okay, good, good.
And that would be something that
Great.
it really is kind of contingent on whether or not it becomes something that is cost neutral or cost similar for us.
Yeah.
Or
Mhm.
cost efficient to make a determination. If we find that it is, we would bring that back to the board in lieu of whatever is decided tonight for an amendment.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's amazing, because again, the schools that presented for that at the education convention who are doing this, like they are willing resources to talk to schools about like how they've made it work and approaching that.
Could you educate us a little bit about what it is you're talking about?
Well,
Do you wanna
it's
explain what it is?
Yeah, I'm sure you can do a better job
Yeah,
of explaining it. Yeah.
Because we have a threshold that allows us to be eligible for this, then all students, if the board adopted this, would be able to eat meals free, we would not charge anyone. We would be reimbursed at the, for those who are eligible currently, with those applications are direct certified, we would be reimbursed the reimbursement for those students at that rate, for free students. But for the students who are not eligible, those numbers, those meals, the district would, we'd receive a smaller reimbursement, so the district would be paying that cost.
So there's some
Yeah, I
thinking
would,
through the longitudinal impact.
yeah, and I would be interested in
Yeah, that's
looking
what
at
I'll do,
that.
I'll go back to that
Yeah.
presentation, I'll find the schools and I'll do my best to connect you with the information I got and those
Yeah.
people. Cause some of the schools there too also don't do CEP, but they do provide free lunches for all their students too. So they have come up with their own, I think there are just I just think we need to explore our
Mhm.
options,
Yeah.
at this, you know.
Yeah.
At this time. So that's it, thank you.
Okay, going back, so now we're seeing on a motion to approve full meal price increases of 10 cents per meal as recommended. There's been talk about whether we want to go to 15 cents. If anyone wants to make a motion to amend, you could, or we can vote on this 10 cents.
I just wanted to ask, I mean, Anna, do you feel like what is your recommendation? Does it continue to be the 10 cents, or having explored the 15-cent option, would you?
I'm really, I mean, I am going to say, like, it's the board's pleasure on this one to really make that decision, and it's, you're the deciding vote on that. I think the recommendation that I have is increasing it to 15 cents, like for clarity, my rough calculations would be that's about $90 for a family over the course of the year for meals every single day, right? Of all the days they're attending school, so if we. For one child, right?
And
So-
$90 is a lot.
Yeah, so just, I mean,
4 children
just kind of, you know, thinking through those dynamics, knowing there's need, knowing that we might need to, we might have afforded the opportunity to explore other options, but I think Karen made a really salient point when you talked about the fact that there are other areas that are really difficult for us to try to rectify. And I know that, you know, I'll liken it to like when we do field trips and people supply and pay for other students for field trips, like I think that's well received, so at the 15 cents to some families may not be a hardship and may actually help us offset costs and put us in a better fiscal spot, so I think that is a big consideration to make right now for the board in terms of that. So, you know, looking at Michelle's analysis around the 15-cent increase, we can definitely go to that and we can continue to explore if there are options that would avail the community program as well. But I guess I'm leaning a little bit more towards the 15-cent option at this point, knowing that we are in a spot where we need to be conscientious about what we're doing with our recommendations in terms of how they impact us fiscally.
And what I'm realizing is if you're paying full meal prices, you have not qualified for free and reduced lunch, so, yeah, okay. I'm gonna invite visitor participation if anyone has any questions or thoughts we'd like to add on this before we. Mr. Martin?
I will start with you all are nicer than me, I would have raised it by at least 25 cents. And then for the free and reduced lunch, individuals or people that are reluctant to apply for that, something that I sometimes use on clients that won't opt to get a government program or grant is you paid in much more through your lifetime than you'll ever possibly get out from free and reduced lunch. Take it anyways, look at it like a tax refund. You don't pass up on that.
That's a great way to do it.
Most don't. And then also, is there any reason you couldn't potentially raise the meal prices later in the year, should you so choose?
I believe we could, I don't think there's anything holding us back.
So, something to potentially look at over winter break if you are losing substantial amounts of money. And just one other thing on I should have mentioned this last time, but for the year-on-year comparisons, one easy way to do it without having your business director print additional reports is just copy pasting the prior year's report into the current year presentation for that month.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Martin.
I to his point of 25 cents, if you're gonna raise it to 15 and call that nominal, if you raise it to 20, are you no longer losing money? Because if you're gonna raise it to say, we wanna have a positive fiscal impact, then raise it so that you're not losing money. Otherwise, you're like inching there but not doing the thing. And so I don't think I would do a 15. Personally, I feel like 15 cents is like, it's a Band-Aid over a gaping wound at this point, which I'm like, so if you can say, here's the amount we can raise it, so we break even, I feel like that's a better narrative behind the choice to raise it.
Well, if you wanted to get to net zero, you would have to raise it by 30 cents?
approximately 30 cents, right?
Wait,
Really? Cause you
Well,
go from,
no, you do
5
about
cents.
5,000, about 5,000 per 5 cents, right?
I was just looking at this figuring like 75 to 1,500, it shouldn't be that much of a leap to get.
Oh, you're looking
to-
at the bottom line,
Yeah,
right?
the bottom line.
I mean, a 5 cent increase, from 10 to 15, it saved us.
That's what I'm saying, so I think if you
Yeah,
went 5 more cents,
$6,000.
you wouldn't have a
Remember-
projected loss.
But remember that projected profit loss doesn't take into account the
Equipment repairs.
infrastructure costs. So if you really wanna get to net zero, you have to raise it enough to cover.
I don't know if I would do, I mean, I'm just, like, I'm looking for like a sellable win in a way, right? Like, we're
Yeah.
raising it because that means on meals, we're not gonna lose money.
Right.
Right, and then the unpaid balances are sort of that, we're looking into other options and et cetera, that all to me feels responsible. And then the other thing, just to your point, because you were saying, people who receive free and reduced, so that's households earning less than 130% of the federal poverty level, it's about $40,000 annually for a family of 4. And then households between 130 and 185% of that poverty level get a reduced price. And I can't do that math very quickly, but what if that is somewhere between 40 and 60 or 40 and 80,000? I'm not the math person, not anybody. Anyway, my point is for a family of 4, so even if you are above that as a family of 4, like paying full price is still not like you're rich and you're paying full, so you can pay full price. Yeah,
But I mean, the question is, can you afford, let's say you've got 4 kids and this is gonna raise your cost by $90 per child. Can you afford $360 extra as opposed to what, $250 extra?
I have 3 kids in the district. One of them actually likes hot lunch, eats it randomly, 3 times a week maybe. They all do a la carte when I don't have a negative lunch balance. And breakfast, which I'm like, stop getting sugary cereal for breakfast. Anyway, I often find my negative lunch balance. I mean, I get a notification every couple of months or a couple times a month because I don't actually think that the meals should, like, I'm not putting it in my head how much they're eating and how much it adds up. But it's often like $30, $40, $50, $60 that they've wrapped up in like 2 weeks or a month.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, so it adds up and it hits you when you're not like thinking about it, so.
And just to note, we do offer, I think particularly at the middle school, there's a la carte options for students, but we certainly, by
Now that I have
request,
a negative
by
lunch balance.
by request of parents, we lock those. Like, so if a parent says like,
Yes.
my student, so unless a parent puts money on that a la carte account, we can block it and say,
Oh.
you can't purchase a la carte, you can only purchase a lunch.
Oh, interesting.
So
Yeah,
by parent choice.
That's just my experience, and so I'm just saying it does add up, and yet
But I think
it's
it would
gonna
be,
add up anyway.
if you wanna get to revenue neutral on just leaving aside infrastructure costs,
Yeah,
right, capital
yeah.
costs, then you would need to set a meal price that's got weird pennies.
Well, I think we need to stay at 5. I think 5 cent increments.
5 cent
makes sense.
increments, right? So for me, I'm more comfortable leaving it at a $1,500 negative than going up to 20 and going over. I don't know.
If you increased it 45 cents, the paid lunch amount,
Right.
then you would be revenue
Fully.
neutral for that full price meal, so one thing I don't think I mentioned yet. The district is required, if we don't have a fund balance, to complete a paid lunch equity tool. Basically looking at this, and what they're looking at is to see, are your federal and state reimbursements on your free and reduced meals covering the cost of that paid lunch that the student who's not qualified for free and reduced is receiving? So, if you look at that very first line for the paid lunch, if that's a negative, a loss, then we're actually, the federal and state reimbursements are subsidizing the paid meal. So increasing that paid meal to 45 cents would basically break even. There are some cents just with our figures, but it'd make a profit of $4.27 based on our projection of meals.
And I feel like that's too much of a shock. I will make a motion to amend the motion to increase the cost from 10 cents per meal to 15 cents per meal.
Second.
Okay, so there's a motion to amend the motion to change 10 cents to 15 cents. Any discussion of that motion to amend?
So I can appreciate your perspective that it doesn't get us cleanly to where,
Yeah.
but it does get us on that conversation of saying, rather than hitting families all at once, we're looking at an incremental design to get there.
Right.
And
Without
also
touching.
all the other options that might be available to be
Right.
able to afford our district more equity.
I hear that, I just, is 15 cents versus 20 cents, like, is that sticker shock to people? It's not to me. And I pay a lot for it, so I'm like, but I don't know if 20 cents, this is all like coming so fast that I don't feel like I have, I like you, Chris, didn't see that like administrative content.
I lack the
And-
capacity to do the 20, I've been sitting
Yeah,
here,
yeah,
and like
yeah,
the math
yeah,
is
yeah.
not coming out.
Yeah.
right
Is it
at
if
all,
you raise
so-
it 20
Anyway,
cents?
I will defer to the administrative recommendation.
Who seconded my motion?
I did.
Karen. So if the administration
right,
agrees
um,
with
But
15,
hold on, because Michelle's figuring it out.
Be a loss of. That first line item would be a loss of $8,893, but the projected overall would be, prior to equipment repairs and utilities, then you would have a profit of $2,000.
If you increase it by
With
20
20
cents.
cents.
If you increase it by 20 cents, that first line, there'd be a profit of 2,000, that would not account for what were going to
Sure.
be some of those operational costs that come out
Right.
of that fund.
But
But
are
it
there
would-
any negatives to, like, I don't know, not having a loss, or it sounded like that's a positive thing to not have a loss on a full priced meal.
Right, yeah, you would have to raise it 45 cents.
Oh, right, okay, to not
Yeah,
Fully, okay, I
right, but
understand,
20
I understand.
cents would make that top line, you know, you.
Yeah.
A loss of $8,893, but the bottom line projected 25-26 loss on meal sales, it wouldn't be a loss.
Mhm.
I should have said profit or loss.
Yeah.
It'd be $2,000,
Mhm.
84 cents to the good.
I feel like our community has generalized sticker shock at this point. You know, and I think,
Should I amend your amend to 20 cents, is that what you're saying?
no,
No, she doesn't
I'm
like
saying
that.
that's why
Yeah.
I'm proposing to amend it to 15 cents. I mean, we have to increase it, we have to think incrementally, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And we need to think sensibly about, I mean, just any increase is hard right now, right? This is a time when people are in economic disarray in America, and I just think anything just feels like, any increased cost feels bad for families who are living month to month. Chris, what do you-
I have a weird idea. If financially we prefer the 20, but we're concerned about families' abilities to plan for that and absorb it. And it seems like most people are comfortable with 15, I'm not quite there, but I think most are. Would it make any sense to say, we're gonna increase it 10 cents until, through December, and then in January, it'll go up to 20, which I think is the same as 15 across the board, but it gives families more planning time? Or is that just
This is for,
weird?
this is for fees for next year,
For
right?
next year.
Yeah.
Feels complicated to me. I don't know why.
I mean, I think the thing, like, the
But it
good
may- I
news
hear what you're
is,
saying.
it's not a front-loaded payment. Like, you pay as you go,
Yeah.
and so there is inherently control over that.
Mhm.
And that if you want, like, the middle school, there's options for control,
Mhm.
right? So you can limit or minimize if you need to as a family,
Yeah.
which also affords your kids an opportunity to learn, like mine did. You only get this much money a month, good luck.
Right.
That was the conversation.
Those conversations are still happening today.
Yeah. But also it allows parents, it's not a front payment, it's not like we're talking like at the beginning of the year, you have to estimate how much you're paying, and so then you're, you know.
And also there are tools and mechanisms as circumstances change for families for them to garner additional support. I mean, to Danielle's point, like we ask everyone to fill out a year, but if circumstances
Mhm.
change, there's an option for that.
Okay.
The other thought I had was, I mean, I know we're just making a hash of this, right? But now I'm looking at these numbers and realizing we only lose money on the lunch. We don't lose money on the breakfasts, right?
Right.
So we could raise the fee for lunch more than we raise it for breakfast, right? Because, you know what I mean? Percentage wise, it would actually look like a more similar percent increase then, because lunches cost more. What do you think about that?
You could do that. And like you said, with the charges, what we're being charged for breakfast, and the revenues that come in, there's not a loss on that.
So hypothetically, there's a world in which you could increase breakfast by the proposed original 10%. But increase.
10 cents.
What's that?
10 cents.
10 cents. Ah, increase the breakfast by 10 cents, and we're still gonna be coming out ahead on those, and then increase lunches by, say, 20 cents.
Or 15.
Or 20 cents,
Oh, I
because
see.
then the
Yes, 'cause
total
then-
cost
yeah.
to the family, I mean, if you're trying to look at that number only of lunches, right, the total cost to a family that buys a breakfast and lunch still goes up 30 cents per day, but in terms of the federal issue of subsidy, I think I just talked myself into a corner. I realize what I'm saying is immaterial. I take it back.
Can I ask is there a deadline for what, like, is this a time sensitive approval that you need at this meeting?
Yes, because we're gonna be putting out information to families on online registration verification, and we wanna be able to communicate upfront to
Okay,
families
great.
and not at the
Okay, I
last
just wanted to
minute.
make sure, so
I would
it's
just say
something-
this.
Okay.
I think go with 15 cents for now, and then we can revisit this.
Right.
And so like we could have an analysis partly through the year, see how it's going, and if there needs to be a change, we can make the change. And also, we can hold it in our minds, like realistically, again, we're gonna be designing longitudinally, and so expecting like, we will again do this.
Yeah.
Recognizing that at some point we have to figure this out.
Okay, there's a motion pending to amend the original motion to change the number 10 cents to 15 cents. All in favor of that motion? The
Aye.
motion to amend. Aye. Opposed?
It was an aye, sorry.
Oh, okay. Okay, so now we are looking at a motion to approve. Okay, so that motion to amend was a motion I made, Carla, seconded by Karen.
Yes.
That motion to amend has been approved. Now we're back to the original motion by Karen, seconded by Danielle, which now is a motion to approve full meal price increases by 15 cents. Any further discussion?
I just wanna know if this is now the administration's recommendation as well.
Okay, all in favor?
I
Opposed? Believe that was a unanimous.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, motion carries. All right.
Whitefish may charge $5 for their dishes.
All right. Okay, next on this agenda item, thank you, everyone. Is the school fees. Is there a motion on the fees?
Move to approve the school fees as recommended in board docs. You mentioned that.
second.
Okay. Motion by Danielle, second by Karen to approve school fees as presented in board docs. Any further discussion?
I did have a question with regards to those optional fees. While we have a cap for how much a family might pay for an annual school registration fee, I was wondering, do we have a similar cap for these optional fees where you might have families with multiple children or families who have kids that are very invested and they end up having some pretty significant expenses in that way?
No, at this time, we don't have a cap on those fees, and we do have the ability, again, if anyone's free or reduced, to waive, right? Like, those are options for our families, and then on the back end, without, I mean, with kids enroll in things, those fees are just waived, and their families aren't billed for them, right?
Okay,
So there's that option, but no, we do not have a cap on that. If you think about, athletic, so not every club has a fee, so there's a lot of clubs that are fee neutral. So it would really be if you had a student who did cross country say basketball in the winter or wrestling, and then also did track in the spring. So those would be like, they might be involved in 3, so it'd be a $75 fee there for a family. And then, the instrument rental fee too would be multiple, so yeah.
Do we know if if these are barriers in any way? Have we heard from families if they're unable to participate because of fees? Not really.
Yeah.
It just struck me reading over it, I was like, that could get,
Yeah, it could.
yeah, and again, these are incremental, you wouldn't have to pay them all at one time, you pay them when it happens.
And I'll speak specifically to forensics, I know this year, and I'm sure it'll be ongoing as long as Mrs. Young is running that program. If someone wants to do it and can't afford it, then we've gotta make sure they can afford it, like she figures it out. She does fundraisers to reduce that, like. For forensics specifically, it won't be a real barrier.
Anything else? Chris?
Yeah. I wondered, are there payment plans?
Yes.
Okay, so someone could do a payment plan.
Of course.
Okay.
Yep.
Because these fees are assessed through Infinite Campus, right?
They are
We're not
assessed,
bringing
they
in
are
checks.
assessed through Infinite Campus with lunch fees and any other fees.
Right.
Part of what we offer to parents is an opportunity to, like, when we see unpaid balances, we will offer an opportunity to pay a certain amount. And so the thinking behind the instrument rental fee is that you're basically paying $10 a month to rent an instrument, right? And so there was a lot of thought put into those pieces, right? To start to think about and to break that out for families and have families recognize that too, so they could budget for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I hate that the forensic fee is higher. It's like, come talk to the board, we're gonna raise your prices.
That's actually
Just-
just cheaper depending which,
Yeah.
cause some of the forensics meets are $12. And you
Okay,
have to have 6 ribbons to go to state, so you have to compete at least 6 times.
okay.
So that's actually cheaper than
Got it,
per incident.
okay,
Charging this fee would allow to kind of equalize that cost and like cover the costs in a more neutral way for those students. And then to the point, like each club also has its opportunities to fundraise. And then any remaining funds that are collected during that year should be used on those students. So if there are remaining funds, they would then be used on those students, right? In that current school year. So that's kind of how the activity fund needs to work, right?
okay.
So it wouldn't be like, it would be stockpiling, so we don't wanna overcharge, does that make sense?
Yeah,
We wanna
yeah.
make sure that we're coming in at a place where the funds that are collected are explicitly spent on those students for the activities that they're engaging in.
Right, okay,
So like the athletic fees probably cover costs of cleaning uniforms and things like that, yeah.
Okay, anything else? Danielle, Karen, Chris?
all right, Mrs. Amos.
Yes, please.
I guess I have trouble believing that athletics really only costs us $25, and it seems like, right, we have to pay referees and things like that. It seems like we're subsidizing athletics, but not forensics. No? Tell me how I'm wrong.
I don't know. Which is, I would have to like dig into that to really piece it apart. We only cover referees for home games, and I believe that the rate of pay for them is less than $25. So like, if you
Okay.
think about charging every student who's on a team.
Got it,
So I'm
okay.
kind of trying to like do.
Yeah,
like,
that
I'm
makes
trying to-
sense.
I mean, I can't definitively say that without looking at the breakdown of
Right,
it,
right.
but I believe like the cost of officials is, it's not extensive.
No.
No,
Okay.
no.
Okay,
And a lot of parents also volunteer to run the clock and things like that.
got it,
Yeah.
okay. All right, thank you for that.
That's a really fair question.
Yeah.
I love that you asked that.
Yeah.
That's
It's
gonna rattle
forensics
around in my
kids.
head. You know, but do the coaches, do the club advisors set the fees? Or is that district set? Oh, I guess here we're sitting. Duh, gosh, I'm having one of these days, got it. But I mean, the proposal, like the proposed fee came from the advisors, right?
Yeah, the $25 YAC and athletic participation fee has been in place since, I can definitively
forever.
say, since I've been in
Right.
my role as
Yeah.
building principal, so for at least 5 years.
It
right?
hasn't changed.
And it has
Yeah.
not changed.
Got it.
The $40 fee for forensics, I consulted with Ms. Young on to say, what do you, like,
Got
what
it.
do you adequately need to make sure that we can,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
cover the cost? And that was the rate that she felt was gonna be necessary.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Okay, everyone ready to vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay. On. 6A, notice of reasonable assurance of employment.
All right, per policy 4124, we need to notice, our employees who are not contracted, and who are not certified or professional staff in our district with a notice of reasonable assurance of employment. So that would include, those staff members that are making hourly wages and who are a part of, the paraprofessional work group, the administrative assistant work group, and our health room assistant work group, custodial work group, right? So the attached template is what we are asking the board to approve as the way that letter will be constructed and delivered to those staff members so that they have clarity around their wages and their assignment for the 25-26 school year.
Okay, is there a motion?
I motion to approve the notice notice of reasonable assurance of employment template.
Second.
All right, discussion, I've lost track of where I am, so I'll start with Chris. Or is it Katie? Katie.
I have nothing, so you can move on.
Chris.
Nothing, thanks.
Karen.
Only, I had, touched base with Anna, I had suggested simply, and I know this is wordsmithing, but rather than percentage of average maximum you're currently at, I had suggested your current percentage of the average maximum. There's no dangling things there.
Where are you looking?
On the last box. If you look at the
Oh, you
notice.
don't like the dangling app.
Correct.
What do you want it to say instead?
Current
Your
percentage.
current percentage of the average maximum.
Okay,
Oh.
yeah, okay.
Yeah.
All
I can make that adjustment.
right. Danielle, do we need to do a motion to amend for that, or just, I think just as discussed, yeah. All right, I got nothing. I love the transparency. I've told Dana, I just love the transparency. It's just something employers don't do, and I'm grateful for it. Any discussion or comments from visitors or online? All right, there is a pending motion to approve the template for the notice of reasonable assurance of employment for the 25-26 school year for support staff. Motion was by Katie Avalos, second by Danielle Bailey. All in favor? Aye. Motion passes. Item 6B, proposal to go into closed session.
I move to recess into closed session per section 1985 1C, considering employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction. Dang it, or exercises responsibilities specifically to discuss support staff compensation. I should have taken a picture of that.
Second.
All right, there is a motion by Danielle Bailey, all the things she said. There is a second by Chris Robinson. We have to do a roll call vote. Katie Avalos.
Aye.
Chris Robinson.
Aye.
Karen Cronwell.
Aye.
Danielle Bailey.
Aye.
And Carla Pennington Cross votes aye. We are officially in closed session. Should we go to your office? Open session, are we back on? All right, we are reconvened in open session, and is there a motion?
I move to approve 25-26 recommended compensation for support staff as discussed in closed session.
I second.
All right, Anna, would you like to make any comments?
Yes, I would like to thank Michelle Brown for a lot of really hard work that she's put in, as well as the board for understanding and recognizing the work that needed to be done to try to bring our salaries into alignment. So our administrative staff, our teacher staff, as well as our paraprofessional, custodial, administrative assistants, and our supervisory aides, so our complete cohort of salaries and waged employees that we service in our district. We did comparable studies and looking at our North Shore districts and made sure that everyone was in 90% of the maximum or the maximum average, so that we were in a place where we know we're offering a competitive wage to attract good talent, but then also starting to bring some of our salaries into alignment and take a look at those and make sure that we are being fair in our compensation. So there was a lift in doing this and bringing things into alignment with that as we looked at it. And I am just really appreciative of all of the work that Michelle Brown has done to pull those comps, run those comps, make sure that we've looked at them twice, 3 times over, consulted with Kelly Weiss-Galacki on our special education paraprofessionals, and have come to a place where we can now move forward with greater transparency and clarity for our staff. So thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. Thank you. We're doing jazz hands, silent jazz hands, yeah. All right, so there is a pending motion to approve the 25-26 recommended compensation for support staff. Motion by Karn, second by Danielle Bailey. All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. And yes, thank you for just a mountain of work, and the clarity that you brought to this for us has made it really easy, and your openness to answering questions, all of that. Thank you. Next, item 60, swearing in.
I feel like Danielle you should be handing out the gavel.
Oh,
I'm kidding.
What? Oh, yeah, you're not okay. This is the gavel.
Is it a board doc?
I don't know how this works.
You have to raise your, do you want, you have to.
Let Chris go first, so I can see
You
if
guys can
I.
do it together.
Oh, okay.
You can do it together.
Okay,
Oh, no, well,
I guess,
Okay,
sorry.
because you just have to say your name and she
Yeah.
says her name.
Okay, all right,
so,
So we have to try to read in tandem, that seems more
Okay, well, then
complicated.
yes.
All right.
Okay, I'll just go,
all right,
go.
raise,
Okay.
you gotta
I'm gonna raise my hand. Oh,
Raise
right,
your
you're the
hand.
notary. I, Carla Grace Pennington Cross, having been elected as a school board member of Glendale-River Hills School District, affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin, and will faithfully and impartially discharge the duties of said office to the best of my ability. Sorry.
Great, you're gonna have to sign that in front of me.
I
And
can't.
it just went to.
Oh.
Oh, okay, Chris, would you like to raise your right hand and read your oath?
I, Christine Robinson, having been elected as a school board member of Glendale-River Hills School District, affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin, and will faithfully and impartially discharge the duties of said office to the best of my ability.
Congratulations, Chris, I'm honored to be reelected with you.
Because you did not add that to your
We've never,
statement.
have we ever done this in open
No,
session
we
like
should do
this?
it in,
It's nice.
yeah, it is fun.
Last
It's
year.
nice.
We did
Last year we did last
Did we? Oh,
Yeah,
that was in the
first
first time.
Yeah, okay.
And we have to
I
sign
was not-
something?
Yep, your signatures and your official
Oh, over
oaths
there.
are over
Okay,
here on the
great.
table.
Should we do that at the end
Yep,
or should we?
let's do it
yeah,
that way.
yeah, okay, and then last item, board planning and preview. Hold on, Anna has put in board docs, events that are coming up. A track meet on April 29th, May 3rd, green team cleanup at Glen Hills. That will be a fun one. April 25th, there's a yak. if you're desperate to volunteer at a YAC. And May 6th, there's a K4 caregiver information meeting, which I already have on my calendar and am planning to attend. So the question is, does Anna need to notice any of these?
K4. I got K4. Maybe.
Is anyone else gonna be, if it's,
I wouldn't anticipate it.
Okay,
then I think we're okay.
Okay, so let's see, that's at 6 o'clock, right?
So you're talking about your kids.
Yeah, I was like, I have 2 kids, so it's.
And
it's like what
then
I'm worried.
how about the May 3 green team?
Oh, green
cleanup?
team, yes. Green
I
team.
will try to stop by on that.
But if we don't do it at the same time, then we don't have to notice that. I can just
Just
notice it.
notice it.
Listen, I like it that it's extra advertisement for the event. I love
I'm
that.
accompanying someone at the state solo and ensemble. One of our middle schoolers, Jackson Geller, is going to state.
Yay.
Yeah,
Oh, great.
and I'm accompanying, so that's fun. Okay, and then in terms of legislative advocacy, I would exhort each of us to try to make sure we have reached out by email or in writing or by phone call to the Joint Finance Committee, if you haven't already. And if you have, and if you've done it in writing, I'd encourage you to share it with each other.
Okay.
If you could, just FYI the rest of us, because I think it's fun. And then I know on my list, I've just ball dropped, I plan to send our resolution, and if I have each of your testimonies, I can send those as well to our neighboring school boards members, and to share with them what we've been doing and invite them to also reach out to Joint Finance, so.
So I believe you do have my testimony.
I think I
shared it
do,
with you.
yeah. Yep, so if anyone else has submitted anything or spoken and has a transcript, anything at all, just share it with me, and sometime in the coming week, I'll share it forward. And then Danielle, last item is
Yeah, so I
the
sent you
ad.
guys information about placing an ad in the Glendale City newsletter. We've already talked about the content. It would sort of be like a congratulations, gratitude to our amazing admin team that's agreed to stay on with us, you know. And also I think it's a good introduction for our community to see them. So all that really requires is the board saying, yes, let's do this. Determining the size of the ad that we'd like, and if the board is willing to pay for it for this particular initial ad, I think that would make sense, because it's sort of us saying, hey, check out our amazing ad.
And do you think that it also needs to say funded by the board too? So that people
Sure, and so
can-
I, so we
Yeah.
can, I think, could we share like the content of the ad offline? Like the idea was, Carla was gonna sort of draft the content from the board, the message from the board, or the congratulations in the intro. We would need a nice picture from Anna. The whole team, I think, would be great. Anyway, so I think those are, maybe we can work details on offline.
Yeah, so
in terms of-
I don't know what open meetings laws require of us. Like hypothetically, I'm the board president and I could just do it on behalf of the board, but I'd prefer for us to all be able to look at it and say it's fine, which I think if we're gonna do that, we probably have to do it in a
Yes.
meeting,
Okay,
right? So if
So-
it's gonna be published in June or whatever,
well, actually, that's the next piece I have to follow up on, so I will, because I have to reach out to the city, to figure out their timeline for publishing the next one.
so we
It
don't,
might not be till
Sorry, could we
August.
just pause for a second? So you're asking if the board would fund it, you're asking if we would. It's not official board action on behalf of the school district. And wouldn't we be able to then just simply do the same feedback as we do at other times, where individually we just let you know?
if we're,
You could send it out and say, are you willing to pay for this? Yes or no.
so you think if we're paying for it individually, it's not?
It's not official, it's on behalf
I
of
think
us, not us.
Maybe what's pertinent now is knowing that are we all on the same page and willing to contribute, not to put
Okay.
anyone on the spot. And then I can find out the timeline. If it's easy enough, it could just be,
And then you and I can, we don't violate any open records laws.
making any decisions.
Right.
okay,
And then I know what I can do, I can email Bob Butler.
yeah, and then
And
I'll
I'll
just
just
do a
ask
quick
him
check.
at WASB
Okay.
and make sure, because if we have to bring it back, we can just bring it,
Yeah.
a 2-minute item on the next board
Yeah,
meeting.
so I can follow up with the smaller details, but and then, yeah, so maybe this can be a little bit offline
So we hereby instruct you, Anna, to give us a photo,
of the admin team, thank you.
even if it's just a selfie.
And then my topic for a future agenda item though is thinking about this as a district engagement opportunity. And there are annual I'm working on getting the pricing for annual, where you would publish in each of the quarterly newsletters, and thinking about how we might utilize that and ask the district to consider budgeting and seeing that as like a, you know, a worthwhile investment in terms of engagement. Everybody gets one, it's a hard cut, you know, it's there, it's really just
It's like a little mini newsletter.
yeah, it's, so I'm not, I mean, it feels, I always feel like we're missing from it every time I get it, you know, so that's just the feature.
And they hopefully have all of the empty boxes highlighted.
Right, showing you what could be yours.
You could be here.
Right, okay.
And that
So
would,
that's
that would be in our, that would be something you'd have to build into budget, right? So it's a perfect time to be thinking about it for next
Mhm.
year.
Okay, thanks for.
Anything else, fellow board members? For our preview and planning?
I guess I would just, like, if we don't have June meetings on the calendar, we should probably get them on the calendar.
Yeah, do we?
Because we will need to meet in June.
Well, I have the whole calendar for the rest of the year, including the meetings in June for our May 2nd
Okay,
meeting,
Okay.
or can you wait, like,
yeah, that's
Are you
fine.
okay?
I just, I mean, I will be gone all of July.
You mean our
so-
May 7th meeting, right?
Yeah, I'm
The
sorry,
first
May-
meeting.
The first meeting in May, the setting the board calendar is on there, I put their meeting dates in June in there, and so I can send a preview of it to you.
It's fine, I just don't want us to like,
No.
as we're projecting forward, discover like there's something pressing that it should happen and it falls into July, and then I'm like, sorry.
It'll
I'm
be
not
okay.
coming in remote.
You don't have to. I think I'll be gone for part of July too.
Yeah.
We'll work it out. One agenda item remaining.
Do adjourn.
Cronwell has moved to adjourn. Is there a second? Chris Robinson has seconded. All in favor? Aye. Did you miss us?